What's up, guys? It's Wally. Today we're going to be talking about the new Pokemon that was introduced yesterday, Poltchageist. Now, it's yet another one of the Convergent species found in Scarlet and Violet, along with Toedscruel and Wugtrio. However, I think this one actually has the best use out of the three in VGC. So we'll talk more about that along with what we know already. But before we do, as always, if you guys are new here, just haven't yet, please make sure to go down and hit the subscribe button. If you guys do enjoy the video, please make sure to drop a like too. But let's get into this Pokemon because I think this thing is pretty interesting. So looking at the official Pokemon website, we see that it is the Convergent species of Sinistea and thus Poltchageist as well. And looking at the category here, it is the Matcha Pokemon, so that's how we obviously get Poltchageist. But instead of it being solely a Ghost-type Pokemon, it is a Grass and a Ghost type. And while it doesn't necessarily seem like the greatest typing, especially in a meta full of really strong, Dark, Ghost, Fire, and, Ice types like Chi and Pao, I still think that it could actually have a place on some teams. And much like one of my favorite Pokemon from this generation, Brambleghast, I really think that, its ability is really going to be the thing to bring its usage up. Quick side note too, as I was reading through this information and lore about Poltchageist, I actually really liked some of it and how it tied back to Sinistea and Poltchageist. And if you look at this line right here, it says that, it's sometimes men's cracked or broken things. And you look at Sinistea and Poltchageist, in order to actually evolve Sinistea into Poltchageist, you need either the cracked or the chipped pot. And so, you think about that and the fact that, Poltchageist likes to mend things that are broken, and you need something that's broken to be able to evolve Sinistea and Poltchageist. I know it's not really like a direct correlation, but still, it's really, a nice little way to kind of, find an additional way to connect the two lines. But back to the ability, I'm sorry. So this new ability is called Hospitality, and basically it restores a small amount of your ally's HP when it enters the battle. Now, since they didn't really show, a video of Poltchageist in battle, we don't really know exactly for sure how much that small amount actually is, So, it could potentially be a fourth, it could potentially be an eighth or a sixth or something like that. And I think that's really going to, dictate how important this ability is going to be. Because if you think about it, if you go out there with a quarter, that's going to be extremely useful. I mean, that's pretty much just getting a citrus berry. But if it is only an eighth or 1/6, you kind of have to evaluate how important that's going to be based on the Pokemon that you have on the team. So kind of like what MoxieBoosted said earlier today, stall players got a really big W right here. Because with Hospitality, especially if you're behind screens and you have extremely bulky Pokemon with a lot of HP, if you end up going out there with Hospitality and it does end up, recovering about a fourth of the HP, a really bulky Pokemon, that's a turn or two of hits if you get double targeted. Especially if you are behind the screens like that too. So being able to kind of pivot with the Poltchageist, especially if it gets a move like U-turn or another one that's able to hit a Pokemon and come right back out, I think it's going to be extremely useful, and it's going to be really tough for some teams to really kind of counter, especially if you're going against a stall team like that. But even teams that aren't stall teams can still potentially see some benefit from this Hospitality. So I think there are a couple potential builds that we can do. Obviously, we don't know what the base stats are of Poltchageist. However, because it is one of the Convergent species, we can kind of figure out what the base stats are going to be on Poltchageist based on Poltchageist and kind of the trend that we see with the other Convergent species. So if we look at all those Pokemon over in Showdown, obviously we have Toedscruel and Tentacruel together, Dugtrio and Wugtrio together, and Poltchageist and obviously Poltchageist, since it was just introduced yesterday, is not going to be up on Showdown yet. And especially since, again, we don't necessarily know all of its base stats, as well as its other abilities, if it has other abilities, which I'm sure it'll have a hidden ability, but and potentially one more, I guess. But again, I'm not 100% sure yet. But again, looking at Toedscruel and Tentacruel, if you look at all of the base stats down here, you go back and forth, same exact thing. You look at Dugtrio and Wugtrio. 35 HP, 100 attack, 50 defense, 50 special attack, 70 special defense, 120 speed. Same exact thing for Wugtrio. So, since both of the Convergent species Pokemon that have already been introduced have the same base stats as its original, or I shouldn't say original, but I guess original in terms of when they were introduced in Pokemon, but in terms of those original forms, since they do have the same base stats, we can kind of assume that Poltchageist and Poltchageist are going to have the same base stats as well. So if we look at Poltchageist, honestly, its stats are actually a lot better than you'd expect for, a teapot right here. I mean, its HP and defense are 60 and 65, which are pretty low, but they are still, kind of higher than Fluttermane. But still, they're not necessarily, it's not necessarily bulky from that perspective, but a 114 special defense is actually pretty high. That is not bad at all. 70 kind of puts it, kind of in like that mid-speed tier. So it is a little tough because, it's a little too fast for a really good Trick Room team, and it's a little too slow for, a couple other teams as well. But still, depending on what its hidden ability could be, and all that, you might be able to kind of sidestep that. But then again, if you have the brand new ability Hospitality, that might be the one that you really want to take advantage of. But either way, again, since you are kind of using it to kind of heal up your Pokemon, at least for the most part, some people will, you don't really have to worry about the speed, because really you're not really going to actually get moves off. You're doing that so you can actually heal up your Pokemon, take them out, bring them back out to be able to heal them up a little bit more. And again, like I said, if they do have access to something like U-Turn, that'll make it a little bit easier. I mean, you will have to take some hits, but again, with a 114 special defense, you can actually still, kind of deal with that. But honestly, the biggest surprise here is really its special attack. And I really should have looked at this earlier too with Poltchageist. I didn't realize that its special attack was 134. I mean, that's extremely high, because if you think about it in terms of other like really strong special attackers, especially ones that have been like, Series 1, Series 2 Pokemon, like Fluttermane, Glamora, and Pokemon like that. Fluttermane is 135, Glamora is 130. This is 134. That's right up there with it, and closer to Fluttermane than it is to Glamora. So that's actually pretty incredible. So Poltchageist actually has the same base stats as well. That 134 might be something that you might not want to ignore, especially if you see what its move pool is. And again, we don't know what the move pool is yet, but we can kind of guess, kind of based on the typing and what Poltchageist has and things like that. So we can kind of guess, because Shadow Ball might be an option, Hex might be an option as well, and since it is a Ghost type, as well as the Grass type, you might be able to have access to some status moves too. Might be able to get Toxic, that's a possibility. But more than likely, it probably will end up getting Will-O-Wisp. And since, Poltchageist, and then presumably Poltchageist, defense is so low at 65, being able to really hinder those physical attackers and make them a little bit weaker is really going to be for your benefit with Poltchageist and Poltchageist. So being able to have something like Will-O-Wisp would be really incredible. And then having a move like Hex, which actually does more damage if they are afflicted with some kind of status, I think that would actually be a really cool combo. And again, with a 134 special attack, that might be something that could hit extremely hard to a lot of Pokemon. And again, with some other Ghost Pokemon out there, like Fluttermane, even though Fluttermane has a really great special defense stat, that's something that might not be able to get around. So I think that could actually be a really cool strategy. But again, having Will-O-Wisp, I think, is going to be really important. But again, even though we do have, obviously, we know that new ability with Hospitality is going to be really great to heal up your allied Pokemon. Again, the 134 is something that you might not want to ignore. So if we're looking at a potential build, obviously its HP is 60. We really want this thing to be pretty bulky. So really, we do kind of want to max out the EVs. And depending on, I guess what kind of item that we have on it, if it's a berry, we'd probably actually want to go down that one stage to 244, because that would put us at 166. So if for some reason a Pokemon ended up using something like Ruination, or if the Tapus come back and they have, I forget exactly what the name of that move is, Nature's Madness, I think, or something like that. I'm probably totally butchering that. But if they use that move and it totally takes away half your HP, at least you're going to be able to proc that berry right away and be able to bring you back up to pretty much what is 75%. So I think depending on what item it is, you can either go for the 244 or the 252. Again, just in case you want to actually put Citrus Berry on it, we'll keep it at 244. I definitely think that you do want to put some EVs in the defense, especially if you want to be like more of a bulky build. I really like to kind of get it up to that triple digits and have it be something, something kind of even like that at 100. Just because I feel like, bringing it down here, putting it 98 or 99, it just doesn't feel complete, So being able to put it at 116, I think would actually give you a little bit of that physical bulk. And again, if you do have access to Will-O-Wisp and you're able to Will-O-Wisp a physical Pokemon, you're going to be able to increase your bulk just by making them a little bit weaker. So I think that's actually a pretty good value to have in there too. Really, I want to be able to put 4 into the speed and the special defense just to give you that extra point for both. And then really want to put all of the rest of it into special attack. Because again, 134 could be really incredible. So obviously I would probably want to go with a modest build there. So we would probably have something like that. 189 for your special attack stat at level 50 is pretty incredible. And again, if you have something like Hex as well as the Will-O-Wisp, you Will-O-Wisp them and then use Hex on them. Something that, let me look quickly. Because Hex, is 65 and it doubles if the target has a status affliction or ailment or whatever you want to call it. So really, if they did have that burn, you end up getting that Will-O-Wisp buff. That 65 ends up becoming a 130, and that's going to take out a lot of things, especially with a special attack at 134. So I think that that's actually really good because, again, you're able to invest in a lot of your bulk, especially with the HP and the defense, that little bit in special defense and speed, but still make it a really strong special attacker at 189. Obviously, you don't necessarily have to go with the attack route there if you really do want to make it a really bulky Pokemon and not have to worry about its special attack. Just so you can keep it out there, something that's more of like a healer, or something that, you can always kind of pivot in and out of just to be able to get that healing on your other allied Pokemon that might be a little bit stronger. You can always do that. Its special attack without, any kind of nature and also without any EV investment is 154. And honestly, that's really not horrible. I mean, it's not incredible, don't get me wrong, but still, you think about 252 full invested in special attack Toedscruel. Obviously its special attack is only 80, and it would be the same thing with Toedscruel too. If you invested all that there, it only comes up to 145. Poltchageist without any investment is 9 points higher than that. So, realistically, you could put nothing in special attack and actually still have it do some pretty good damage while it's out there. But again, with that, potentially you wouldn't want to put any speed in it because you really do want to invest in that bulk. If you do want to keep that 4 in the speed there, you could always do that and put the 4 in special attack just to get it up to 155. So I'll kind of keep it at that. We'll say put it up at 252. Again, still kind of want to keep the defense high. Might put it up a little bit higher because we have that extra potential for that investment. Let's say we'll put it up at, like 132, and we'll make it, what is that, bold? We'll make it bold. You know what? Let me actually just get this up to like 141, and I'm going to invest like the rest in the defense. So 196 in the with the bold, be able to make it pretty bulky defensively. The 252 in the HP to bring that up to 167. The 121 in defense, 141 in special defense. That thing is going to be pretty tough to knock out. Obviously, it doesn't have the bulk of some much bulkier Pokemon like a Moongus, or obviously something like Iron Hands. However, with some decent bulk in the defense and special defense and its ability to heal, I think that having something with that kind of bulk actually wouldn't be horrible. And again, if you actually didn't care about the speed or the special attack at all, you can actually bring that up to 60, or keep that at 52, bring that up to 204. However, again, I think putting that there and putting that extra investment in special defense probably isn't the worst thing. But again, you can do that if you wanted to have something that was a little bit bulkier and not so focused in special attack, because again, with a base 134, that's still going to be a pretty high special attack without any kind of investment. But again, that first build where we actually put some investment in the special attack and had the modest nature, I think would actually work extremely well and could be a really strong Pokemon that you can actually utilize, especially on a team that likes to inflict a lot of those statuses. So if you had something like a Thundurus or something like Grimmsnarl that could go with a Thunder Wave, or something else that has Prankster that's able to do a status like that. Sableye with the Will-O-Wisp. You could actually do some, have some really good strategies with the Poltchageist / Poltchageist, whatever you want to call it, along with that Pokemon. So, I think that's going to be kind of the other scary thing about it too, which I shouldn't say scary because I don't think Poltchageist is going to be, an extremely heavily used Pokemon. I think it's going to be something that's going to be on a handful of teams and probably something that I'm sure people will run just for the fun of it because they really like the Pokemon or they came up with some really interesting strategy. But still, you're not 100% sure because of, the potential bulk that it could have and the high special attack, whether it's going to be that healer for the team or if it's actually to go out there as a special attacker. So in like a closed team sheet setting or up on the ladder, you kind of have to think about potentially dealing with both options. Is it going to be out there to heal the stronger Pokemon? Or if you see that it is one of these stronger Pokemon in terms of attack, special attack on the team, you kind of have to worry about that in terms of, the special attacker. So you can kind of base what you're going to plan on for Poltchageist based on the rest of the team around it. Because again, if you have these stronger Pokemon on the team, it very possibly could just be out there to be able to heal the team if it potentially has access to like Pollen Puff, which I'm not 100% sure if it will, obviously, but if it does, could be out there to heal that way, but then also with the hospitality as well. So you can think of it that way, but then again, if you had something that had weaker mons, you could potentially see this as a special attacker. Again, there are a lot of different options with Poltchageist. Again, presumably, if it does have the same base stats as Poltchageist, which since Wugtrio and Dugtrio and Toedscruel and Tentacruel, since they do have the same stats as their counterparts, there's no real reason to think that Poltchageist and Poltchageist would be any different. But again, since we don't know for certain, we can't really say one way or the other. But again, we're going to assume that that is the case. So again, there are a couple things that you might have to worry about with it in terms of knowing what kind of set that you're going to end up seeing out there. I think that we could potentially have some fun with it. Again, kind of like with Bramblegast, it's another, grass ghost type that has a really cool ability. That actually could see some pretty good play in Regulation D, or I guess in the case of Poltchageist, that would be Regulation E, because that would be coming, in the DLC and coming in the next rule set. But I think this could be a really potentially cool Pokemon. Again, not necessarily one that's going to be used super often, but one that could be on some really cool, I guess, niche teams or ones that could employ some really cool strategies. Again, kind of like with a potential Hex or something like that to be able to get some boosted damage with a really strong special attacker. So again, Poltchageist I think is going to be really cool. I'm excited to see what other abilities it gets, as well as, I guess, confirming that its base stats are the same as Poltchageist. I think then we can actually develop some strategies. Maybe we'll actually do another video to think of a couple of different strategies with some other Pokemon to be able to make it obviously either a special attacker or more of a bulky healer too. So I'm really excited to see the abilities, the confirmation of the base stats, and also the move pool to see what additional moves it gets over Poltchageist and which ones it loses by obviously being a different Pokemon. So again, I think it's going to be fun. I'm super excited to see what other information comes out about it because I think it can be a really cool Pokemon that can be used on some really... But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You guys let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think about Poltchageist? Do you guys really enjoy it? Is it a Pokemon you guys are looking forward to? Or is this a Pokemon that you think kind of flopped from the video? But you guys let me know down in the comments. But again, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure to drop a like, and we'll see you guys next time.